Hello everyone, my name is Maggie Gahoon and this is my Academic Excellence Conference poster, Motivating Workers to Change Routine. I just want to start off by thanking Dr. Tammy Warner and Dr. William McCullough for supporting me through this academic process, as well as former Professor Brian Bethel of the Safety Department for getting me started with all of the research involved with this. To give some background on this research, I am pursuing a dual degree in both business management and safety and occupational health. Last summer, I started some research with Professor Brian Bethel looking at diffusion of innovations, and I found Roger's concepts in this text to be very critical in my development as a safety professional. I love safety because I love to work with people and figure out what best supports them to be successful and safe while they're doing their job. So I looked to Dr. Tammy Warner to quantify this and see how I could apply it. To begin my research, I developed two questions. Are younger people more open to change, and do personality traits impact openness to change? And with that, the hypotheses that younger workers will be more willing to adapt to change than older workers, and that individuals that categorize themselves as outgoing, social, and forgiving people will be more likely to accept a change than those that do not. As you can see in my methods section, I used research that had been previously performed to guide the survey questions that I asked individuals. And these were on age, self-perceived openness to change, and different personality traits. I asked these questions and respondents identified their feelings on a scale of 1 to 5 in connection to the question, with 1 being strongly disagree and 5 being strongly agree. There were 136 individuals that opted to participate, and they were ages 15 to 60 plus. And I used an ordinal logit model to analyze these marginal effects, and there were 2 independent variables, age and a forgiving personality, and a dependent variable, openness to change, of which you can see the questions and how they would answer them below. My first independent variable was age, and looking at the connection between age and openness to change, you can see in the graph below that in this sample, as a person gets older, they are more likely to accept changes in their work role than those that are younger. And to create this graph, I worked with Dr. William McCullough, and he helped me through data in understanding that these numbers come with a 95% confidence level of the results from the anonymous survey. The second independent variable, forgiving easily, is shown in this graph. And here we can see that people that perceive themselves as more forgiving are also more likely to accept changes in their work roles. And this was done with the same analysis of 95% confidence levels in data. To conclude the results section, the data does not support the initial hypothesis that younger workers are more open to change. It in fact showed the exact opposite. But the data does support the hypothesis that personality traits influence someone's willingness to adapt to changes. Now, this research method was a collection of non-random samples from the greater Monadnock region, so it's hard to tell if this data would hold true for a more random, larger population, but that is something that could drive future research. Rogers uses the idea of a behavior adoption curve and applies this to the workplace, which we will show in the next slide. And Professor Brian Bethel uses this analogy to discuss the adoption of safety measures as a management challenge that we have when working with different types of employees. So this project was attempting to quantify how you can identify an early adopter or an innovator in the workplace, and results to me were very surprising in a sense that I would love to do this as some further research to determine whether the results would hold. So this is that behavior adoption curve that follows a normal distribution, which Rogers uses to explain how people follow social hierarchies in the workplace. And he places them into these different categories labeled in terms of what phase they would be most likely to accept a new behavior in their work role. And this theory connects to the research done on personality traits in connection to openness to change. So looking at methods for how to approach these social tendencies can be approached through the process on the right, which shows getting employees involved in the initial introduction of a new safety measure. So as a safety professional, I look to identify early adopter categories of people who would be most likely to distribute this information out to their coworkers, and then work with them through fluid communication and getting their participation to identify how accepted this new idea has been. And here are my references. Thank you so much for taking the time to look at my research, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and contact me. Thank you.